Hi everybody, this is Pam with Jesus Junk Journals, and I hope you all had a really nice holiday. And we're gonna finish up this, well, it's gonna take us a couple sessions, but finish up the Jonah journal. So I'm gonna do the cover and get that going. So I picked my fabric out and I thought about knowing, you know, the whale, the water, and I had this fabric that looks like water. It's some of Tim Holtz fabric, and so I'm gonna let this be the outside, and then I'll probably do my stamping of the title and everything that I usually do and put it on here. And then I'm gonna do a layer of the baby quilt lining that I get from Amazon. And then I'm gonna put on the inside, for the inside layer, I'm gonna use this, you know, I told you guys, I use this canvas, I cut it up in pieces and put it on my tray here and let everything drip onto it, and then I can use it later. So now I think I'm going to use this for the inside I'll just cut a piece out of the journal. So I'm going to go ahead, and I've got, this one's different because normally I only have one signature in a journal, a mini journal. This time I decided to have 3. And so I'm going to have to do like I do a regular journal and allow for the thickness of it. And so I kind of squeeze it together and kind of measure it like that. And it looks to me like if I allow an inch, that's probably enough. So I will add an extra inch to the width of it. Okay, so I'm gonna look at this, and I'm gonna put tabs in here too. So I always want to allow for that. So the dimensions of my cover are going to be 4 1/2. And that should clear that tab and any tabs that I add. So 4 1/2. So I'm going to draw it out for you guys. Some of you don't have a problem with this, but just to make sure everybody knows what they're going to do. So so it'll be 4 1/2, 4 1/2 for the back cover, and then an inch to allow for the spine. And then the height will be, I like to have a 1/2 inch at least on these, and that'll be 6 inches on the height. So there's 4 1/2, 5 1/2, 10 inches. Let me do that again, 8 1/2, 9, 10, yeah, 10 inches. So this piece of fabric, these pieces of fabric, because I'm doing 3 layers, will be 6 inches by 10 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those out, and what I'm going to do is take them to the sewing machine and sew them together, make a sandwich out of them, and then I'll come back and we will put our signatures into them. Well, I have to say that went, I think that's the smoothest I've ever had it go for sewing a journal cover, which I am very happy about. I'm going to bind my journal. I usually pick out the smallest needle. You can get these book binding kits on Amazon and other places, and you get needles and wax linen thread, and you get an awl, and mine came with a couple of bone folders, and you can, I think they're like $11, or I don't know, they're different prices, but it's not a whole lot of money. So if you don't have that set, you might think about getting one. And I put aqua colored thread in so that it would show up a little bit more. Tying my threads off. I don't do everything right when I sew. But one of the things I kind of have that did stick in my mind from my home ec in junior high was to tie off your threads. So I try to always do that. So here's the inside. This will be the inside. This will be the outside. And it's got the quilt liner in the middle. I cut it just a slight bit smaller, but if it shows, I think that looks cool too, so don't worry about it. And then what I'm going to do, okay, so let me thread my needle. And so I do 2 1/2 times the height of the journal. Some people do 3, but I'm always trying to save a little bit. So I noticed I always cut it off and threw it away. So now I just do 2 1/2 times, and I still end up throwing a little bit away, but I know very unimportant. But so now I'm going to take my 3 signatures, make sure I get them in the right order. I'm going to put this one first, and the one that you can write in, I think I was going to make this removable, now that I think about it. And actually, I messed up if that's what I was going to do. But I tell you what, I can still do it. And so I'm going to get a piece of Hug and Snug in the right, probably that. What I should have done probably is put this in between the 2 layers of the fabric so that it just stuck out. And actually, I could just take this over to the machine and do it. So I want it to come up here and tie in a bow. So I'm going to want it to be, I'll allow just an extra little bit here. So if you're watching this before you bind yours, you just, if you're going to do this part, just sandwich this in between. Of course, it may be, that might be pretty difficult actually to get it where you want it, but I'm just going to go over, put it in the middle, and run a stitch up it. Okay, well that went pretty well too. So let me tie my threads. And I don't know, I'm always kind of surprised when it goes that well, because I don't know why. I go over there and it seems like my tension gets messed up, or I run out of thread, have to thread a bobbin. I don't know, it's like the devil gets over there and ruins my sewing machine. Let's blame him. So that means that this will tie in. And actually, I think I want that to go on the outside. I think when I did it, I thought I wanted it to show on the inside, but I'm going to trim this off and put it in the back. And this will tie in. It's kind of hard to do when it's a soft journal because it's going to move around, but that will hold it in, especially with the other 2 sewn in. And then if you want to remove it, you can always take it out and write in it, or you can put a new one in if you fill this one up. So now I need to figure out where to put this one. I'm going to allow, let's see, probably right along where that tape is. It's kind of a handy line there. And I want it top and bottom the same. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and draw. Let me draw a little bit of a line here. Yeah. Okay, so I've got my thread, my needle, and I'm looking for the center of the signature, which is right here. And you want to have it almost shut. Don't open it up and do it this way because it'll cause a gap. So don't do that. And I'm going to line this up on this line and allow the same distance here and there. I'll get my little piece of Amazon packing that I keep handy. Line that up. The distance there. And then I could use the same hole, but I'm not. I'm going to move it just a little bit off from it because I want to put my needle here as soon as I pull this all out, if I can do it. Get it through there, and then I can get it through here. Okay. And then you leave a little bit of a tail out there. So for the second one, I'm going to line up on the line, the pencil line, poke the hole just a little bit down from the other one, and then remove the awl carefully, and then put this through. Pull it. and I'm pulling it tight up, so it's pulling those pages tight up against that cover. And now you want to go back through this hole, but you don't want to catch this thread, so just carefully go above that thread as best you can. There. And then I'm going to put it through that hole. Whoops. And pull it through. Pull that tight. And then make sure it's almost shut. To get your third hole, line it up with your pencil line. Poke a hole. Pull it tight. Pull all of it really tight. And then tie a knot. And I tie like 3 because I've had a problem in the past with it coming loose. So I'm going to tie 3 just to be safe. And I mean, I could tie a bow. I don't know if I want a bow over there or not, but I'm going to tie it anyway. Trim it off. Okay, so we've got our first one in. We've got the place for the written one in. I mean, the removable one in. And then we're going to do the last one. And I'm going to allow, I'm just going to do the same thing I did before and kind of draw a line on the edge of this ribbon. This ribbon's kind of actually coming out kind of handy. So, got it a little crooked over there though, but so maybe like there. Oh, here it is. Okay, thread the needle. And make sure you get everything right side up because I've done that before too. I'm gonna line it up with that because I kind of want the knots to line up there. So I'm going to put my needle through there. And then I'm going to take this and line it up with this signature here as best I can. And I'm going to try and stick the needle through and not the awl. Okay. Okay, then I've got it on the pencil line, and then I'm going to put this a little bit like that. Pull it tight, and then try to poke it back through this first hole without hitting my string. I feel like I'm not explaining this very well this time, but hopefully you guys are getting this. I think I did it. We'll see. You'll know because you won't be able to pull your thread tight if you catch that thread. Okay, I think I got it right. Okay, so now the second one, or the third one actually. So I'm going to shut it, and line the signature up with the pencil line, poke a hole, poke the needle back through there. and pull it tight. Take the needle off, make sure it's pulled tight, and tie it off 3 times. Pull it to the center and tie a knot, or 2 or 3. Basically, you're making a figure 8. You're either starting in the back or starting on the inside. You're going through a middle hole, coming up, going through the top hole, going back through the middle hole to make the figure 8, coming this way through the bottom hole and up and tie it. Figure 8. Okay, so I'm going to put my needle away, put my things away, and so now we got this all bound up, and it looks like it fits fine. Looks like the cover's sitting where I want it to sit. And then I can tie this in. And yeah, it's a little trickier because this is a soft cover book, so it's not going to be as tight as a hardbound book would be. Okay. All right, so there it is. And so now I'm going to work on the title for it. Okay, well, I've been looking at my stamps and things, and I'm going to do something different this time. Instead of stamping all of it, I'm going to hand letter it, except for Jonah. So I'm going to do the book of, and then Jonah will be, I'm going to print that. So I'm going to go ahead, I kind of wanted to write it on there to see how big I need to, I don't know which marker's going to work the best either. Okay, that will work. And now I'm going to print Jonah. I'm going to use this bigger font. Let's see. And I was going to do all caps, all capital letters. Okay. I'm going to trim my end. Because it doesn't let me get close enough to that O. All right, let's see if I can get this on here. All right. Usually I do like 2 or 3 just to have a backup in case it doesn't work out, but that looks pretty good. I was gonna look for a charm, a whale charm, and stitch right here. So I think I still will leave a little bit of room at the bottom in case I get to find one. So I'm just gonna trim a little bit of this off. Okay, so I am going to stitch that on, and I'm going to use, I think I'll use some blue or aqua color embroidery thread if I can find some. So let me get that and I'll be right back. Okay, I had to go watch football real quick with my husband. We're Kansas City Chief fans. And anyway, we had to do that, but I am back, and meanwhile, while I was sitting there watching the football game, I thought about the fact that I had a whale somewhere, and I'm like, whale. You know, that's not something I normally look for or collect for my ephemera. But, you know, you go to the Dollar Tree and you get these laser cut things, and I have a whale. So I am going to paint him a dark blue and put him here like that. So I'm going to stitch this on and I am going to paint him blue. So first things first, let's see, get my palette, figure out what kind of blue I need. I want it to be a blue that coordinates with that. This is green. Let me see, what do I have? Huh. Actually, you know what? That is not too bad right there. I don't need to go crazy. All right, let me just see what happens. And this may need a couple of coats. I don't know how this does. I normally like these in this brown color, but this feels like it needs to be this color. So, okay, I've got Mr. Fishy painted. I'll let him finish drying. And this was the closest I have to one of these colors. So I'm going to use that and slow stitch this on. So have you guys been reviewing your last year and figuring out what you can do better the next year and so on? I've been listening to a really good series by Keith Moore. He's one of my favorite teachers, preacher teachers. And he's got a series called Faith for Miracles. It's a 24-part. He likes to do these really thorough studies on things. And it's a 24-part study. And as I've listened to it, I've been hit between the eyes by the Holy Spirit on a few things. And one of them is the thing that I keep neglecting, and I'm ashamed to admit this, but you know, I'm great at studying. I'll do Bible studies all the time, and oh yeah, I love that, you know, but I'm not spending enough time with the Lord, like talking to the Lord. And Keith was talking about, like, you can study about faith and miracles, you can study and know what the Word says. And he said, if you aren't hearing from the Lord on the situation, you're probably not going to get the miracle you're hoping for. And I know that. I've known that in the past, and I just keep forgetting. And I will get in a corner with myself, and I'll think, well, the Word says this, and so I just need to do this, this, and this. Number 1, 2, 3, and I will get the results I want. And that's just not the way it works. So that was a big aha for me, like again. And something else he talked about I thought was cool was he was talking about the woman, the the miracle with the wine. And he was talking about how, and I always wondered about that miracle, because, you know, Jesus says it's not yet my time, but then he goes ahead and does it anyway. And I thought, well, did he just want to make his mom happy? I mean, what's going on here? And Keith Moore pointed out that in at least two other places, actually several other places in the Bible, it talks about, Jesus says, I do nothing except my Father does it first. And I only say what my Father says. I only do, you know, what my Father tells me. And so for him to have done that miracle then means that he heard from the Lord, and that the Lord told him that Father God told him to go ahead and do that, and that he told him how to go about it. And Keith Moore was saying that, you know, he and then Mary, he said, did the absolute right thing by saying, whatever he says to you, do it. She told the men that were, you know, gonna get the water pots. And, you know, he made the point, like, you always want to hear from the Lord about how to go about doing what needs to be done. And he said, you know, there were a lot of ways that wine could have come. And he said, who would have thought that it was going to be with the water pots and turning the water to wine? Nobody knew that except Jesus, you know. And he asked the Father, and the Father told him to do that, apparently. But he said, you know, what a lot of us would have done is said, okay, y'all, I'm going to go over to the wine warehouse, and I'm just going to believe God that I'm going to have favor with the owner, and he's just going to give me wine. So y'all pray and believe with me while I go. I'm going to get the donkey cart and go over and load it up. You know, you just come up with your own way of how things are going to work without asking God. And then when they don't work, we're like, well, God, why didn't that work? And I thought, wow, that is great advice. Because, you know, look at the different ways Jesus did things. You know, when he healed that one guy, he spit in the clay dirt and made mud and put it in the guy's eyes. And that was different. Probably not something you and I would have thought to do. Okay. All right, I think I got that fixed. I had to fix some stitches, but I think I got it straightened out now. Okay. So I've been thinking about what the next project's going to be, and somebody asked me to do a mini prayer journal, and that caught my attention, and I thought, yeah, I want to do that. So I was working on a different journal, but I decided to stop and do the mini prayer journal. So I think that will be the next thing that comes out journal-wise. And then I'm working on of course, once a week I'll be doing the art journal project. So if you haven't seen that or whatever, take a look at that and think about joining that little exercise. Sorry about the dogs. You can hear them over there digging a hole through the rug. All right, got that sewn on, and I think the little foil is dry, and so I think I want him to overlap that. So I think I'm just going to use Fabri-Tac. I hope that will work. I'm going to try it, see how that holds up. I mean, I can always use, what is it, R300 or 600 or whatever that stuff is. I've got some of that in there that will for sure hold it. Put a good amount of that on there, and then put him right there. Okay. And I think that that's it for this video. And so we'll come back next time and finish. We got some tags to work on and the tabs, and finish putting this thing together. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.